I got to say, it's happening again. Scenes that look almost like a civil war in America. When Donald Trump was first elected president, you had American cities being torched by rioters, by anarchists and the hard left, and, all encouraged by anti-Democrat or anti-Trump Democrat politicians who were exploiting race resentments after the death of a drug-affected George Floyd. One of them, of course, egging them on was Kamala Harris, you might recall. And here we go again. Trump this time got elected, promising to expel 1 million illegal immigrants from the US. And last Friday, Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials raided several locations in Latino areas of Los Angeles, looking for illegal workers, arresting dozens. But mobs quickly gathered to stop them, to assault them. Then the rioting got wilder and more dangerous. Police were attacked. They were even rammed with motorbikes. They were shot at with commercial quality fireworks, potentially lethal, of course. The rioters blocked traffic, of course. They set cars alight. And what I thought was really telling is that many in the crowd that was attacking police and the National Guard waved Mexican flags, like they were some sort of invading foreign army. And they chanted slogans in Spanish. Others wore Palestinian keffiyehs and came masked, almost like Hamas figures, like they were looking for trouble.
Some would call them anarchists or by any other variety of names, but they're people that we run across routinely city to city, and this is what they do.
And once again, Democrat politicians were saying, oh no to the violence, yet still blaming Trump for calling in the National Guard, blaming him, saying he'd provoked the violence deliberately to make himself look tough. Trump wasn't backing off.
You have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it. If we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order.
And Kamala Harris, who lost the election to Donald Trump, the former vice president, actually called what you just saw, these riots, overwhelmingly peaceful. Overwhelmingly peaceful. Joining me is the country's top foreign affairs writer, Greg Sheridan of The Australian. Greg, to me, this overwhelmingly peaceful demonstration actually looked like an insurrection by, among others, foreigners aided by Americans who hate Trump or hate America.
Yes, Andrew, good to be with you. This is a very serious moment in America. And I would cast it more widely. I think illegal immigration has become a critical issue in many Western societies. Now, I don't think we need to blame legal immigrants for this. Illegal immigration has been fostered by the left and centre-left of Western societies who have ceased to be law-abiding when it comes to immigration law. There's a great line in the movie Reagan, which I saw the other night, where Ronald Reagan, as a governor in the late 1960s, says to the university administrators, where do you get off telling students that they can pick and choose which laws they have to abide by? Now, the Democratic left in America, through the movement of sanctuary cities and the like, has said it simply won't cooperate with federal law on immigration. That was not the view of Barack Obama. Barack Obama deported 400,000 people in 2010, more than half of whom had no criminal record. They were just in the United States illegally. But since then, the left has decided that democracy is inadequate. It doesn't give them the result that they want, and that borders should be open and there should be no immigration control. Now, I think you're getting still a minority of Hispanics. I mean, the interesting thing is the Hispanic vote for Trump went up at the last election because legal immigrants hate illegal immigration. This kind of disorder hurts minorities in minority neighbourhoods. And generally, Hispanics have been terrific immigrants in America. They join the military in disproportionate numbers. They're very patriotic. They're socially very conservative. But I do think the moral blame for this rests overwhelmingly with the American left.
Well, what do you make of the attempts by the California governor, among others, the mayor of the city, that Trump provoked this, and and maybe deliberately too, by sending in the National Guard, federalising it so it was associated with the army, not under the control of the Los Angeles police, etc., etc.?
Well, there are a couple of things about it. First of all, when the demonstrators first attacked the Immigration and Customs Enforcement people, the so-called ICE agency, the LA police were very, very slow to come to their assistance. Secondly, there's been a really vicious habit now, including among local officials, local Democrat officials, of doxing ICE agents, publishing their names and their private addresses and their photographs so that they can be subject to vigilante terrorism later on. Now, these are federal law enforcement agencies enforcing the law. If you are an illegal immigrant, that means you're there illegally, which means that you're liable to be deported. So Trump has deployed the National Guard in the first instance to protect federal property and the federal ICE agents. Now, if Gavin Newsom and the mayor of Los Angeles were cooperating with federal law enforcement in the way that they should, probably it wouldn't be necessary to deploy the National Guard. There has been a slight change by the Democrats this time. I noticed Newsom and also the mayor say every time now, you demonstrators must be peaceful, you must be law-abiding. I think they're aware that the politics of this runs very heavily against them with most Americans. And so they want to demonise Trump and blame Trump for the disorder, and yet at the same time, they recognise that they can't just valorise the demonstration in the way they did with Black Lives Matter, because ultimately that turns people against the Democrats. Every police union in the country supported Trump, and he won a plurality of the popular vote for the first time ever last time, and illegal immigration was the #1 issue, I think.
Just quickly, Greg, one Channel 9 reporter was hit by a rubber bullet. Here she is.
Bullets of protesters moving them on through the heart of LA.
You just shut the You okay?
Now, I saw Lauren Tomasi then appear on the Channel 9 News, so she's okay. But predictably, Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young claimed that the US police were shooting Australian journalists and attacking the freedom of speech in doing so. I mean, seriously, this rabble-rousing here, is that how you saw it, a deliberate attack on journalists?
No, certainly not. I feel nothing but sympathy for one of our tribe, a fellow journalist, caught up in the violence of covering a demonstration. I'm so glad that she's not seriously hurt. That's a wonderful thing. Almost everything Sarah Hanson-Young says is utterly ludicrous, and I'm sure you, like me, Andrew, have covered riots and demonstrations and so on, and you're lucky. You just thank God if you get through without injury. And I feel sympathy for the journalist. I feel sympathy for the police and the ICE agents who are trying to do their lawful job and are being attacked by street thugs, by 1930s fascist street thugs in the process. And if Sarah Hanson-Young was a decent social democrat, those are the people she'd be attacking.